11th, sometime in February. And we're just really glad he's here. It's always fun when he's around. Please show some love for Eugene Rosenberg. Yeah!
Thanks. I've been a little under the weather, so hope you can bear with me. I'm don't have my usual energy, and this is such an energetic story. I've never told it before, and when I wrote it in the second person, so I'm going to try to keep it in the second person because I think it's more immediate that way, but it may be a total flop. Anyway, so you don't know why you're on the cross-country team. You don't like running. You don't like sports. You might be the best athlete at Hebrew school, but that doesn't exactly translate to high school athletic success, at least not at the varsity level. But mostly you hate sports, or you hated cross country because of the people on the team. Every afternoon about 3:30 is when it would start out. The boys would gather under the shade of a willow tree outside of the track while the girls sat on the bleachers. And you'd sit there thumbing through your honors class materials and the various novels you had to read for your AP tests and what have you. And sure enough, the rest of the track team, half of which was in classes with you and the others were, let's just say, on the remedial track, come to join you. Now, the track team is made up of about, this is Southern California, so it's about 60% Latino and about the rest white and black. And for some reason, you're the outcast. Maybe it's because of the classes you take. Maybe it's because your other extracurricular activities are theater. Or maybe it's because your social group is a bunch of losers who smoke pot and play video games on the weekend. For whatever reason, you don't seem to be fitting in with this gang. And so every day at 3:30, the shit gets started. Sometimes it takes the form of name calling. Sometimes it's just a little bit of shoving. But every now and then, your favorite antagonist, Scott, will break out with what he calls the Jew whip. And the Latino guys will basically sit there and watch you get smacked around with a couple of willow tree branches. Why should they stand up for you? I mean, you're essentially a minority in name only, and they've got numbers. So they can just sit there idly amused and call you a theater fag, which is kind of ironic considering you know at least one of them is going to come out of the closet a few years later. Scott and you will usually start out with some name calling, maybe a little shoving match. He might whip you across the legs a few times, but by the time the coach shows up, you're pretty much done with the whole routine and you're ready to start running. And you hate running. You hate it. It's like work. It's like labor, but you're not being paid for it. The relentless pacing, putting one foot in front of the other in the dense California heat, a desert where man was not really meant to be exercising himself for no perceivable end other than to finish running. So you just go on and go on, and sometimes the antagonism spills over from the pre-game workshop of name calling and Jew whipping into a little bit further out on the cross-country line. Sure, when you're running around the track, you're in view of the coaches, so only the occasional nonsense can get past them. But when you run out onto the canal, out past the orange grove, that's when things get nasty. One time, you remember Scott came at you. He came after you with a Jew whip, and you said, I bet you wouldn't be so bold if you were calling that a spick stick, would you? So that didn't seem to register with him. But at least you appreciated the fact that you probably wouldn't be standing up were he going after your Latino brethren on the team. Or maybe you would if he was going after one of the Latino girls you liked. But you're only 15 at this point. You really don't know how to approach girls at that particular age with any kind of verve or panache. But the running, it's just endless. And the courses go on and on and on with no perceivable end in sight. Every afternoon, the harassment, and then the pacing, and the desert heat, and the sweat, and the just endless monotony of it all. Sure, playing touch football with the kids at Hebrew school, that's fun, and you're really good at it, but this shaving 30 seconds off a mile time and shaving a minute off a 5K. It just doesn't register with the same verve or satisfaction of netting a basket or spiking a volleyball or any of the other more coordination-heavy sports that you're not really qualified to participate in. The large contingent of the team gets together the night before a race, and they enjoy a pasta dinner. Scott nudges you and knocks your spaghetti out of your hand, but you don't really pay it much mind. All the kids are sitting in the corner talking about their Christian youth organization, the next outing they're going on, while you sneak out to have a cigarette and then go home. So the day of the race arrives, and your dad is encouraging. He drives you to the track, and it's only been 30 minutes since you woke up, so you're still groggy at the starting line. But the gun goes off, and while Scott trips you on your first few paces out of the gate, you dust yourself off, and you decide right then you want this over, and you want this over as soon as possible. So you put one foot in front of the next one, and you begin to pace, and your course is based out of 3 hills, and you cross the first hill, and you begin to see other uniforms, both of yours and your high school and from other high schools. And you're quickening your pace down the first hill and up the second hill, and you're beginning to pass other people, other kids on your team, some of the Latino boys who give you a hard time, some of the black kids who ignore you, and some of the other people from other schools who don't even recognize. You just want this over with as fast as possible, and so you race, and you're going up the third hill, and you give Scott a nice shove into the side of the track, which waylays him, and you race down the first hill, just letting gravity take care of it for you. You're basically skipping down the last hill, your feet barely touching the ground, and you cross the line, and you vomit in the trees as a coach congratulates you on a personal best. This does not give you any satisfaction, not nearly as much satisfaction as the Camel Straight you will light up 30 minutes later, or when you put it out on Scott's face 10 years later at a party when you're back home from college.